Hey guys, and today we're going to see how much stuff can fit into the trunk of the 2018 Genesis G80. Now before I get this review rolling, I would like to thank Tony King at Rick Case Hyundai in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for allowing me to review this vehicle for you guys. If you're interested in purchasing a brand new or used Hyundai and live in the South Florida area, don't hesitate to check them out. They will get you into the perfect Hyundai in no time. And remember that all of DriveAndBeDriven's reviews are 100% honest and 0% biased. So, let's get started. Now I did conduct a complete in-depth review of the 2018 Genesis G80 Sport, so if you are interested in knowing more information about this vehicle, don't hesitate to check out that complete in-depth review. But today we are going to see exactly how much stuff you can fit into the trunk of the 2018 Genesis G80. Alright, now there are a total of 4 ways to open up the trunk of the 2018 Genesis G80, and one of the ways to open up the trunk will be by coming to the rear of the vehicle, coming right below your Genesis logo and pressing on the rubber pad right here next to your reverse camera, and that will open up the trunk. Another way to open up the trunk will be by coming over here to your driver's area, opening up the front door, and pressing the button right here left to the steering wheel, and that will open up the trunk for you. The third way to open up the trunk will be by coming to the rear of the Genesis G80 as long as you have the key fob on you, and the trunk will open up through a hands-free smart trunk access system, and that is going to be standard all across the Genesis G80 lineup. So if you go for the base 3.8 model or the top of the line 5.0 model, you are going to get this smart trunk access system as standard equipment. And the fourth way to open up the trunk will be by just coming to your key fob design right here and holding down on this button. The G80 will play a little chime for you and the trunk will open right on up. Now if you want this power assisted feature on your Genesis G80, it's not going to come as standard equipment all across the lineup, unfortunately. If you're going for that base 3.8 liter engine, you will have to step up to the ultimate package in order to get this power assisted feature. But if you're going for the Genesis G80 Sport like the one I have right here, or the G80 5.0, it is going to come as standard equipment. But once the trunk opens up, it is going to reveal a pretty sizable trunk for its class. You are going to be looking at just about 15.3 cubic feet of space, and coming in a bit closer and looking at the overall furnishings inside of here, you are going to notice that Genesis definitely paid attention to the overall interior quality, especially when it does come to the trunk. You are going to notice it is going to have this pretty soft feeling and durable feeling carpet inside of here. Definitely doesn't feel cheap at all, and that carpet is going to run all the way onto the sides, walls of the Genesis G80s, and even the ceiling up here. So it's definitely a pretty neat feature, and I really like how Genesis did pretty much pay attention to that. Also, you will notice that there are going to be these chrome hooks located all around the cargo area, and that is going to allow for you to put in a cargo net and put things underneath that cargo net to prevent things from sliding all over the place inside of your trunk. Also, there will be these little compartments right here that you can open up, and that is going to be to change out your taillights. So these are not going to be storage compartments, unfortunately, but you can change out the taillights on both sides by using these little openings right there. Also, underneath the cargo load floor, there's actually going to be a spare tire, which is definitely a pretty neat feature. So if you just open this right on up, it is going to reveal your compact spare tire. It's not a full-size spare tire, but at least Genesis is going to give you a spare tire nonetheless. And you are going to see that you are going to have all of your tools right there, as well as your battery right there. So as opposed to Genesis putting the battery underneath your hood, they are going to put it inside of the trunk. But closing that right on back up, you are going to notice that it is going to be a pretty helpful handle to open it up as well. You just pretty much just pull on that and it opens right on up. So that's definitely a pretty neat feature. Now the Genesis G80 also comes with this grocery hook as standard equipment on all of your Genesis G80 models as well, which is definitely a pretty neat feature. It is going to have a 10-kilogram load, so don't put too many things on here, but overall it should be able to hold most things from your local grocery store. Also, the Genesis G80 will come with these LED lights on both sides right here, and that will allow for you to pretty much see things at nighttime. That's definitely a pretty neat feature. At least Genesis is going to give you LED lights and 2 lights, unlike a lot of vehicles which do tend to leave you with just a single incandescent bulb. And Genesis, unfortunately, you cannot fold down the rear seats inside of the Genesis G80, but that's pretty much the case with most other vehicles in the mid-size luxury sedan segment. But you will get this little center pass-through right here, so if you have longer objects, you can just press that down and slide in those longer objects right through that center pass-through. Now looking up here on the trunk lid on the inner portion, once again it is going to carry over that carpeting. It's not going to be as soft of a carpeting, it's going to be a bit more rough, pretty much just saving on cost, but nevertheless at least they still give you this carpeting up here. And you're also going to have your close button as well as your close and lock button. So let's say you're done taking things out of the trunk, you just take everything out, you press this button, the G80's trunk will close and the entire vehicle will lock on itself. And right here you're also going to have an umbrella holder. You press this open, you can put in your umbrella and close it right on in there. So if you pretty much get stuck in the rain, you can just come right back here and rely on your umbrella, which will be right here, and not get lost in your trunk. So that's definitely a pretty neat feature that Genesis offers that as well. Now if you're looking at its competitors, the Genesis G80 Sport is going to be ranking in just around the middle of the pack in terms of trunk size in the mid-size luxury sedan segment. So if you are looking at the Mercedes E-Class, it is going to have a trunk size of just about 13.1 cubic feet of space. The Cadillac CTS will have just about 13.7 cubic feet of space. The Audi A6 will have just about 14.1 cubic feet of space. The Lexus ES will have 15.2 cubic feet of space. This is when the Genesis G80 will come in at 15.3 cubic feet of space. Then the Jaguar XF will have 17.8 cubic feet of space. The Lexus GS will have 18.4 cubic feet of space. And then the BMW 5 Series will have a pretty large 18.7 cubic feet of space. Alright, so now let's see how a pool noodle with a 5.3 foot long length fits widthwise inside the trunk of the Genesis G80. So let's open up the trunk right here and let's put in our pool noodle. So I did put the pool noodle all the way against the wall right there, and you are going to see that the pool noodle is going to fit with quite a bit of clearance here. I see that's just about 2 to 3 inches, maybe even 4 inches of clearance right there. So the pool noodle is going to fit with no problem right here widthwise. So if you are trying to carry something that is about 5.3 feet long in length, you can rest assured that it will pretty much fit right inside of here. But if you are trying to put it in a little bit further down in the cargo area, it's not going to fit, since the cargo area is going to start to taper down as you get closer to the rear seats in there. As you can tell, it is going to get a bit more narrow. But for the most part, if you are trying to put something, for example, like this pool noodle, it will fit in here with some room to spare. Alright, so now let's see how this pool noodle fits lengthwise. So let's push it all the way in right there, and you are going to see that it is going to protrude out just a little bit right here, and that's mainly going to be because you cannot fold down the rear seats inside of the Genesis G80, unfortunately. But this is actually quite impressive, especially for a vehicle that has the rear seats folded up, because I usually test this with vehicles rear seats folded down, and a lot of the pool noodles just barely fit. And here the pool noodle just barely doesn't fit, but those rear seats aren't even folded down. So that's definitely a pretty neat feature. But if you are planning on carrying something that's long like this, for example skis or something like that, you can pretty much just open up that center pass through and slide it right through there, and that will allow for you to carry much longer objects. Alright, so now let's see how a 22-inch suitcase fits inside of the trunk of the Genesis G80. So let's first put this in lengthwise right here and see if it fits. And pushing it in lengthwise, you are going to see that this suitcase is going to fit in here with no problem. Alright, so now let's see how this suitcase fits in here height-wise. So let's put it in height-wise here. And you are going to see that it is going to struggle just a little bit to fit in width-wise. It's not necessarily going to fit extremely easily, but it sort of just jams inside of there. But unfortunately, you are going to see that it is going to be protruding out quite a bit right there. So that 22-inch suitcase is not necessarily going to be able to fit. But you can turn the suitcase this way, and it'll be a bit more efficient. You can see that you can pretty much move it around inside of there. But once again, it is still going to be protruding out just a little bit right up there on the upper portion. But let's close up the trunk anyways and see if maybe the Genesis G80 can squeeze it in. And unfortunately, this 22-inch suitcase is not going to fit inside of the trunk. The Genesis G80 definitely tried to fit it inside of there, but unfortunately, it did not fit. Alright, so now let's see how many laundry baskets with an 11-inch height and a 17-inch diameter fit inside of the trunk. Alright, so we have 1, 2, and I don't want the lips to overlap, so I am going to move this over right there. 3, 4, and 5. So a total of 5 laundry baskets are going to fit with the rear seats folded up inside of the Genesis G80. Now you may be wondering why I don't put another laundry basket right here, and that is going to be because the cargo area is just not tall enough to fit 2 laundry baskets stacked on top of each other. So you are going to get a total of 5 laundry baskets to fit with those rear seats folded up. Now unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, those rear seats do not fold down, so this is going to be the exact same rating that I am going to give the Genesis G80 for the rear seats folded down. Well, that's it for this cargo review. Comment and tell me what you would like to see in future videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This is Marcus, and thanks for watching Drive and Be Driven. Keep it positive, and I'll see you next time. You can become a Drive and Be Driven driver today. Just simply click the subscribe button and you will become a part of the Drive and Be Driven circle. Subscribing will allow you to stay up to date with the Drive and Be Driven YouTube channel. Thank you to all of my current Drive and Be Driven drivers for driving me towards my goals and dreams. Stay subscribed for more awesome videos like this one.